Welcome to Soltron. This is the video review for Metal Cardbot S Muscle Hyde. Here's how he looks with a couple of his Minotaur brothers. And here he is with the other Cardbots and Starscream. Here's his box. It's really colorful and lively. Definitely worth keeping if you're into that sort of thing. And then you can see his action features on the back. Then another awesome CGI shot of him. And I think he looks pretty much like his CGI, except for his shoulders are probably bigger in real life. They don't really, they're not really proportional like they are in this picture, but otherwise about the same. And then he's got his instructions, which is a nice glossy print, but nothing else really fun happening there. So here's the 360 view of this guy. And I mean, he's just kind of breathtaking. This is maybe the best robot I've seen in a long time. He might be the best robot ever. Just his proportions are pretty much perfect. He doesn't really have that much kibble. The kibble he does have, like, is for this backpack gimmick. He's got some ugliness down here, but having these heels way far back is actually very helpful for posing. It makes him nice and stable, so he's not too back heavy. Yeah, everything just looks really great with this guy. I think the only thing I wish he had was, I wish, like, his weapon, instead of turning into a giant axe, which makes a lot of sense, I kind of wish his weapon turned into a chainsaw. Then I think he would be the single most perfect robot. But he reminds me a lot of like Gurren Lagann or Gal Gaigar. Like, he just kind of fits that vibe. I think he looks really great. If we just take a little zoom in on his head here, you can see he's got those Minotaur horns, and he's got, actually, his faceplate looks pretty subtle, but you can see around his eyes he's got like that angry downward V angle, and he does have nicely painted gold eyes. So really did not spare any expense on the paint on the head crest, and also there too. So really made a great looking head sculpt that's very unique from all their other head sculpts. And just like the overall design of this guy is just really fascinating, because they clearly went with a Minotaur theme, because even like his extension hands have like that three-fingered bull kind of look to them. And then he's got, of course, his like bull hooves down here, and he's got horns everywhere. He's got like these horns here, and he's got like a bull skull for his crotch, and then the horns down here. So they really went all out with that theme. But I also think they gave him kind of like a Japanese Oni theme too, because he's got like these two horns. He's like the blue Oni, and we'll talk about that more like in his normal form. But yeah, really great looking extension metal Cardbot form. So the things that he gets with his card are the blade of this axe. So this actually just comes off. So this is not considered his default weapon. And the other thing he gets is these crazy like back arms back here. This is part of his card weapon. So these are a little bit limited in a way, just because they're so far behind him. I think if they were a little bit bigger, they would actually be better proportioned. But you can get some cool looking poses out of him like this. So they're kind of like the same length, but I think the arms needed to be a little bit bigger just to really look correct, because these are now his like shoulder bits basically. But you can get, yeah, he just looks really great no matter how you kind of pose these. And you can kind of get them like moving in front of him while he does other things with his other arms. And then you get kind of an issue with these shoulder pads. They tend to bump into this backpack area back here, but you can articulate these out of the way enough that you get clearance. But yeah, pretty awesome looking guy. Of course, he's got great articulation, so you can get a lot of rushing looking poses. But yeah, so you get the 360 here, you get like in and out motion, so you can get plenty of articulation there. And then you get the 360 here on soft ratchets, and then you get like the detented 45 degrees here and 90 degrees all the way out. And then you also get bicep swivel here and almost 90 degrees in the elbow, more like 75, 80. And then you also get, unnecessarily, you also get wrist articulation, and each of these little fingers articulates, which is a ridiculous amount of articulation just for his little arm gimmicks. And these just friction right off. You can see they have the connection port, and that goes right there. So you could just yank those off. And then you have these two arms, and you're just going to transform them back into card mode, you just collapse them. And you can see they clean up very nicely. And then you're going to flip the fingers backwards here. And then you just sandwich these two together to make his card. And then you're going to take that axe blade, and that's going to peg right here on these tabs. And there's his block right there. And then you just take his metal card, and that's going to peg right here. So his metal card is actually not that big compared to the other one. So not too bad. Does clean up pretty nicely. Oh, and then his artwork is him doing like a little rushing pose, holding his axe in his extension hands. And then you get this accessory, which is his axe or club weapon. So this, for his standard mode, I like to collapse it down. And then it does have this joint here, which is pretty pointless, but I guess you can use that if you want. And then you just rotate this spike in. And now he's got like this Oni club weapon, because it's got that studded look to it. And you can use like any of these handles. This one's kind of pointless, but that's the one I like to use. It's the one furthest down. So you can just peg that into his fist if you have it extended, and then you just close it up. And now he's got this cool looking Oni mode. And I think this is kind of like zebra or tiger stripe on his chest. So I think that is the vibe they were going for, especially with this club. He definitely looks like a Japanese Oni. And then, yeah, the skull around his waist. Definitely looks very fearsome. I even just like this vanilla form. I might like this more than his extension mode. And then you can, because he does have wrist articulation, you can have him like double hand this, looking very fearsome. Yeah, his articulation is pretty much perfect, this guy. So he's really easy to pose. He's just a joy. And then you could use these other handles if you want him holding it more in the middle, which is not a bad look. And then you can, of course, put it over his shoulder and have him looking off. I mean, you saw all that. Just no matter how you put him, he just loves to pose really nicely. And then the other thing I like to do is we untransform these joints here to make them like the vents, which you're going to do for the vehicle mode anyway. And then you just have these vents pointed down like this. And then I like to pretend these are like his rocket pack. So his backpack is actually integrated into this design too. It looks like boosters on his back. So yeah, that looks pretty great. And then you can do a couple things with this. Like you could just put it back into his backpack where it's going to transform anyway and just collapse everything down. You could just have it like that for storage, but they also give you another option where you can use his arm attachments, and they make like a little hexagon port, and that actually matches these. So you could just put it back here. It doesn't, I think it doesn't really help. It's way out here. So it's kind of pointless. I guess you can put it back here if you want. But yeah, I find the whole thing kind of pointless. I think he just looks better if you just slot it back here, even though it sticks out a lot. It sticks out a lot even if you stick it back here. So it's just options. It's something, another place you can store this. I guess you can put it, kind of have an over the shoulder cannon, but it doesn't really end up in the right place. So it doesn't really work. I'm not sure, but it's an idea. So yeah, this thing's like ready for transformation. It's just gonna look like this. And then for his articulation, you saw earlier, he's got a perfect ball joint neck that can look in all angles very nicely. He's got ratcheted waist, soft ratchets on the shoulders. He got like this outward motion. And then you do have to move the shoulder pads a little bit, but it's not too much to fuss with. I'm missing a joint. No, I guess not. So you can get his arm out about that much. You do get bicep swivel, which is very nice. You do get more than 90 degrees in the arm. He does have a double. Oh no, it's only a single joint, but they just engineered it so that he gets more than 90 degrees, which is very cool. And then you can move his hip skirts, and you can see he's got those universal joints. You get full outward, full, almost full front. His skirt does get in the way. And then he does have these rear skirts, so you can get almost full backwards. And then he does have double jointed knee, so you can get all the way this on the knee bend. So just, of course, just looking good. No matter how you set him down, he's going to look excellent. And then, like we said earlier, wrist swivel, but that's a little bit tight. And then he does have thigh swivel on the universal joint. So the only thing he's really actually missing is his ankle tilt. None of that. That's the only thing that's missing. So he has almost perfect articulation. There's really nothing else you could ask for except for that ankle tilt. But yeah, he looks great, right? So yeah, and I guess the other thing you can do with him is you can rotate these forearm panels. This is going to be for transformation, but I don't know if he does this on the show, I'm guessing. And you get kind of these two blasters here. So he can basically like point these and shoot them, I guess. So he's got a ranged weapon. I'm guessing that's what it's for. Otherwise, I don't know why they went so nice with the details here. But yeah, so he can do that too. So yeah, you can get pretty much every pose out of him. I think the only weakness is maybe this outward joint right here. Since it doesn't go all the way out, that's about it. But his shoulder pads would get in the way anyway. So yeah, that's about the only thing he's missing. So for transformation, you're just going to rotate his arms here, and you can see these holes. That's going to be to peg in his shoulder pads. So I like that the transformation on this guy is also very simple. There's really no surprises. You're going to fold up his, well, actually you could fold up his feet all the way to the back, and you're going to fold these whole giant sections here are going to become the front of the truck. And we just fold his feet behind the cab, and then you just fold up these panels will become the windows of the truck, and then you just peg them together. Of course, you sandwich it so that they're all pegged together, and we make sure that we get his knee in there so he has clearance. And then you're just going to use the double joints on his shoulders. Go ahead and close these up. He's got an extra panel right here, which is kind of unnecessary, but it's nice that it cleans up the back of his look. And then you can just rotate this whole cockpit looking area forward like that. And then you're just going to nicely peg everything in place. Like these two pistol bumps peg in right there. It pegs in pretty tightly, and you're going to just peg these up here, and that will sandwich together. Okay, and there we go. Everything nicely cleaned up. So you can get a look at him. Of course, his window eyes look very silly, but you can't really argue with these colors. Like, they are really beautiful. The teal, just really excellent looking, and this is just going to peg right back there. And then you have the hook section. Maybe it looks like that. I don't know if it goes like this or like this. I'm not sure how the hook works. But you get a pretty excellent looking vehicle mode. He does have, like, he can crane up, he can rotate all the way around, which is very nice. And then you can extend the crane quite a long distance. So it looks like a functional vehicle. And then we'll bring in some of the other robots. So you can see that Blue Cop just totally destroys the scale as usual. It does not really work together. And then you can see that Gigant Rex makes a little bit more sense with this guy, the whole semi-truck, and then his cab is right there. So These two actually look scaled together pretty nicely, which means he's probably going to be good with some transformers, because I think all of them will scale pretty nicely together. But obviously, Gigant Rex does not scale with this police car at all. He's much smaller, but they don't look too bad together. Maybe this guy's a little bit too big for this semi, actually. He could probably be a little bit smaller. But yeah, highly recommend this guy. He's probably my pick for the year. He is about $65 after shipping on Gmarket. There's just really no excuse not to go in on this guy. He's just such a great value. Good robot. Oh, I forgot to mention all the yellow parts on his body, though. One negative is all these yellow things are like a rubber. So he's not plastic in this hook too. So even when I got him out of the box, he had like a slightly rubber smell to him. Even these are probably rubber. You can see there's already deforming happening. So yeah, all these little horn pieces, all of them rubber, unfortunately. That's the only downside, but it's kind of understandable. I guess it's better than, especially these ones, worrying about them breaking off. But anyway, I'll see you in the next one, and don't forget to check out my link. Try to buy some of those robots up so I can continue doing these reviews.